Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about Bitcoin. We're going to be doing a general market update. I know a lot of people are generally scared about the current market conditions. I've seen calls for a double top. I've seen calls for a distribution phase. We want to talk about that and give a general outlook on the market here. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Now, why don't we go through a little bit of history on the channel before we say, okay, well, what do we think is going to happen next? And then we're going to try to justify it based on what the data suggests and not what we are emotionally tied to happening, okay? Because again, if you let your emotions rule, then you're going to get wrecked eventually, right? Well, you're probably going to get wrecked anyways at crypto at some point. All of us do. But even then, a lot of these moves are relatively short term, and those that are patient typically went out. Now, a lot of people I know of are they call various things distribution phases, accumulation phase. So I want to give you a little bit of history on the channel. Back when Bitcoin came up to this level over here, there was a lot of people calling for a distribution phase. And I said back over here that I don't think it's a distribution phase. I said it's a reaccumulation phase, all right? And then we came up to 12K. We had the move back down to our trusty bull market support band. We had the Gap Boys calling for $9,600 Bitcoin. Never happened. Bitcoin basically, told the Gap Boys off, and then it went to 64K. Okay, so we talked about this one here. We talked about this. Up here, if you guys remember, and I think the best way to look at this, again, as always, is to show it overlaid from market cycle bottom. Okay, this is how we've been navigating the market cycle. So again, I don't trade necessarily market cycle theory. I stick to the risk levels, of course, and that's on the premium list. You can find the Black Friday sale in the description below. But the interesting thing, though, is you can still use this to get an idea of what you would probably expect to sort of happen next. Okay, so back when we were at 10K, I was pretty adamant that it was an accumulation phase, a reaccumulation phase, right? A reaccumulation phase. This, we were too far ahead of schedule. But I think it's better to understand why we said that. Why did we say we need to go down? Well, first of all, the risk levels on Bitcoin were at the highest risk band, right? They were at 0.9 to 1 up in this region. So it made sense for us to go back down. Okay, Bitcoin does not normally stay extended that long. In fact, the risk level over here was similar to the risk level at that point. And you might say, well, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense because, there's so many other metrics that weren't calling for a local top then. Everyone's calling for 300K Bitcoin. You have to account for diminishing returns. People just don't account for diminishing returns. It is beyond me why people ignore it. But those that listened to the idea of diminishing returns back over here and saw that we were too far ahead of schedule, well, I think they made out pretty well. And so this area was a distribution phase. And in fact, we said, look, we need to get that 3 to 6 month accumulation, a 3 to 6 month low in the market before we can ultimately trend higher. And it took 3 months below the bull market support band, and it took 6 months until we put in a new all-time high. Which brings me to the current market conditions today. Okay? Because everyone's calling for, there's so many different predictions right now. And if you think everyone in the market is bullish, you are completely mistaken. There are a lot of people out there that have already said that this is the top. There are a lot of people out there that said 64K was the top back in April. Now they're just shifting it to say that 69K is the top. There's a lot of people that think, we'll go a little bit higher than where we are today, and then that'll be the top. Some people say 100K is going to be the top. There's all sorts of predictions out there, right? Everyone has a prediction. Everyone's got one. But I look at these charts and I say, look, there's no hard and fast rule that Bitcoin has to go parabolic in Q4. We've said that for years. We can use market cycle theory to say, look, the idea that Bitcoin has to have a market cycle peak in Q4 2021 just because it had it in 2017 is just, to some degree, utter nonsense, right? It's just nonsense to think it's just going to happen exactly the same way it happened 4 years ago. And we've been adamant about that for the last, basically since 2019, okay? And this theory of lengthening cycles was basically laughed at years ago, and now it seems like everyone and their mom's talking about it. But, I honestly, I kind of enjoyed it more when more people weren't talking about it. Now that everyone's talking about it, it's like, oh, it's not that cool anymore. But I look at the current market conditions today. And by the way, this is coming from someone who told you back over here that this was not sustainable in the short term, right? It was not sustainable in the short term. I look at these market conditions, and for me, what I think we are in accumulation. We are in long reaccumulation, similar to what we had back in the summer of 2020. So it's not as attractive as that accumulation phase, right? It's certainly not as attractive. Clearly, I'm not going to sit up here and say that buying Bitcoin at 56K is as good as buying Bitcoin at 10K, because it's not, right? I mean, your risk-adjusted returns are not as high, in my opinion. I mean, you're talking about a 6x multiple, practically, from that accumulation phase over there. But to say that it is a double top, I think is likely not going to stand the test of time. We can look at this and recognize that, look, we would expect the cycle to lengthen. We've already lengthened by a few days unofficially. For us to officially lengthen, we need to continue putting in a new all-time high. So some people have said, oh, the cycle is lengthened already. Let's put on our party hats. We've gone longer. There's no celebrating here. Right, there's no celebrating here. We haven't had a lengthened cycle yet as measured from the market cycle bottom. We've had a lengthened cycle as measured from the halving, but when we came up with this theory, I did not base it on the halving. I based it on the market cycle bottom. So we cannot put on our victory hats yet and claim victory. Why? Because we're at a lengthened cycle? No, we're not at one until we put in a new all-time high. Because if 69K is the all-time high, then that basically means that this cycle was the same length as the last cycle, plus or minus a few days. So we cannot claim victory on that yet. We have to be technically correct, right? Being technically correct is the best way to be correct until we put in a new all-time high. No one is scheduling their Forbes interview. And even once we do, I would urge you to cancel it, because I would still think we have a long way to go. So we look at the chart today and we say, look, this to me seems like an uptrend. Okay, it seems like a textbook uptrend. We are in this, we're in this general uptrend right now. Some people say, well, could we go lower? Yeah, of course we could go lower. Who cares, right? I mean, could we go to 53? We could. It's certainly possible. We don't hold the bull market support band as support. There's always that possibility. We know that's a possibility. If that were to play out, I would say, 3 months below it, and we're probably back off to the races. But I want to show you why there is a decent chance that we hold it, okay? I mean, again, when I say these things, I fully recognize that they might not stand the test of time, the shorter your predictions that I do. But if you go over to, say, the short-term bubble risk on Bitcoin, we then overlay that bull market support band, it reminds me of 2017, okay? So 2017, this is a short-term bubble risk. It never really got that high. And every time we went back down to the bull market support band, we held it as support, okay? Because we didn't get too far extended from it. Okay, and we held it as support every single time. It wasn't until we got extended like that at the very end that we put in our market cycle peak. Okay, and you can see back in May, we got too far extended. We were unable to hold the line. Okay, now what's going on? Oh, look, we didn't get that far extended, we held the line. We didn't get that far extended, I'm hoping we hold the line. Similar to what happened back over here. So as I've said before, there is a distinct possibility that the first leg of this market cycle is resembling 2013, okay, and there is a possibility, in my opinion, a strong possibility that the second leg of the cycle is not resembling the second leg of 2013, but perhaps it's resembling the 2017 move, okay? What if we have a systematic test of the 20-week SMA for a few weeks or a few months off and on? I think that's better. Personally, I like it better. Why? Because it's a slower move up. It's more sustainable. And as long as it's more sustainable, then we don't have to worry about an 80% crash, right? Or a 75% crash, generally speaking. So, I'm not going to sit up here and blow smoke and say that, look, we have to go up forever, because we don't. And it's certainly possible that we come back down and then we have to, consolidate again and then try again later and then we go up. But I would say if you're counting on that, it's probably not the smartest thing to count on, in my opinion. I think we are in a long accumulation phase right now. The whole year of 2021 has been an accumulation from 30K to 60K. In my opinion, we've just been range bound between this level. It has not been a parabolic rally. Doesn't mean we can't break out closer to the end of the year, but I still am excited for what 2022 has in store. If you guys like the content, remember to subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up. Also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. We also do the Black Friday sale on the premium list, lock in the lower rate. You can keep the lower rate as long as you do not cancel. You will get access to weekly reports and videos, the Telegram alerts channel, the Telegram chat room, the risk dashboard, the trading indicators, and more. Check it out in the description below. Thank you guys for tuning in, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.